So this video is going to show you how to create the floor plan for the Revit Exercise 1 assignment here in Google Classroom, which I've not posted yet, so it is appearing as a draft. This exercise will have you design. The design criteria for this will be that you'll have a 20 by 40 foot wall layout, so some kind of rectangular layout, 2 3-foot doors, 3 foot wide, typical height, and 4 double hung windows in this. And then you will submit the drawing. You'll generate a drawing sheet it'll be on Arch A paper, Architectural A paper, portrait orientation, which is a layout that's built into Revit. You'll need to make sure it's the appropriate scale and placement on the page, so nice and centered, and also a good size, like not too small, not too big. And also that there is, the view is appropriately labeled, the label is appropriately placed, and I'll show that in the video, this video, that you have a completed title block, and you're gonna turn in a PDF printout of your sheet, which I will also show how to do. We can generate a PDF of a sheet, as well as the Revit file that you worked in. So there'll be 2 files that you submit. So basically I broke this down into what needs to be in the design, what needs to be on the drawing, and then what you're actually submitting. So that should hopefully make this easy. So let's flip over to Revit here. In Revit, what you're going to have here when you open it up is you're going to have this kind of startup screen here. We want to click New, and just follow along with what I'm doing. Don't try, or follow by watching. Don't try to follow actually by doing. Just watch and then absorb it, and then do it along perhaps later a second time. So when you click the New button over here, you're going to get this new project template. It is vital that you choose the architectural template. If you choose any of these other templates, it's going to give you a whole bunch of layers and sheets and plans that you do not need, that are just going to be confusing. So it's absolutely critical that you choose architectural template, and then you can just pick OK. You don't have to change anything else that's in here. It's going to take a second. It's going to load on up. And once it loads here, we are going to see over on the side, we have a section for floor plans that Revit has already created. We've got level 1, level 2. We've got a section for elevations, which are, we know what elevations are. That's looking at something as if you're standing on the ground. And later we're going to start filling out the sheets category with the sheets that we will actually have. Some projects you may have multiple sheets. If you've got a floor plan on one sheet and an elevation on another, a sheet is effectively a sheet of paper or a page. In our case, it would be the different sheets of the green paper that we use in the classroom. So we're not going to be using ceiling plans right now. You don't have to close that, but I just do. And we're not really going to look at the site or the level 2 for now. We're just going to look at level 1. It'll be open by default. If ever you find yourself in the wrong tab, it may mean that you've double clicked on one of these other ones. It's opened it up. You can just flip flop between these two. You can close them. And that's how you can navigate around here in Revit. Other things to notice right away in Revit are we have this properties window here. This is going to show the properties of whatever is currently selected. Currently, we have this actual floor plan selected. If we select these other objects here, we're going to see that something different pops up up here. These are different elevations. If we select an object out in the actual drawing area, that's going to change what's going on too. So this will update dynamically with whatever you pick. This, of course, is where all of the different aspects of the Revit document are located. At the top, we have a set of tabs, and it's important to understand these terms. These are your tabs. So you have a lot of tabs all along the top of here. And in each tab are a set of panels. So, for instance, in the Analyze tab, there is the analytical model panel, the analytical model tools panel, spacings and zones panel. Each of these panels have a different name, and each panel contains a bunch of buttons. We're not going to use the Analyze tab much. Mostly we will live here in the Architecture tab. The Structure tab we might occasionally dip into. The Annotate tab is where you can put things like dimensions. So we see there's an entire panel for dimensioning. The Modify tab we will also spend a lot of time in, because whenever you are editing an object, this is where you will work. Lots of different panels in here with different buttons. Occasionally, we will also dip into the View tab. This is where we can create an elevation or another plan view, things like that. The Manage tab we don't use so much. And also occasionally a new tab altogether will pop up. It usually turns green, and that will happen dynamically depending on what you are placing. So that's sort of a tour of Revit. What we really want to do right away is we want to save. So we can click the Save button here. You can also go to File and Save. Both of these work. When you're saving here for school, whether you're using Guacamole or you're sitting here in the classroom, you want to be sure that you are in your H drive. And so you are going to look for that usually in the Save In menu up here. It's possible that on Guacamole you're going to have a different layout than what you're seeing here, because sometimes the install is a little different. Sometimes if you go to My Computer, you'll find it, but it's going to have your username and it will have an H colon somewhere you see in the upper right corner of the little window that pops up there. You're going to want to go in here and you're going to want to make, like I did, a folder probably called Architecture. You don't have to necessarily put the year. I have multiple years in here. To create a folder, there's a button up here that says Create New Folder. Yours may be like this, but it may have a little orange like starburst, like an explosion in the corner. That would also create a folder. Or you can right click in some empty space here, go to New and Folder. You would name that folder. You can right click on them, rename them. And it's really important that you do this. I'm going to just delete this since I already have my folder. It's really important that you keep everything in this folder because you're going to want to know that it's in one place, and this will make it so you can access it from any school computer. So I'm going to call this Revit Exercise. You can call it Revit Exercise 1. I'm going to put demo after it since I'm demoing it to y'all. So I'm going to hit save. Now that it's saved, okay, you want to save frequently in Revit. Sometimes it crashes on you and you don't want to be stuck without your stuff saved. There are ways to tell, I believe, if I just place a wall here. Oh, it doesn't tell you if you haven't saved or not. So you pretty much just want to save frequently. Get in the habit of hitting that save button. You can do Control S on your keyboard. That will work too. So what I want to show first here is how to place our walls. We said if we look back at the assignment, we're going to have 20-foot by 40-foot walls, 2 3-foot doors, and 4 double-hung windows. So to place our walls, oh, look at that. I already placed it. I'm going to hit Escape to cancel that out. You can hit the wall button here. It's in the Architectural tab in the Build panel. If you just pick the generic option here, it's fine. So I'm gonna just pick that. We're gonna get a crosshairs for a mouse, and here we see we now have this pale green tab that has been this pale green panel, which has been added onto the right. So our Modify tab has kind of updated to give us some wall options, and that's going to happen every time you click on something here in Revit. Over here in the Properties window, we can immediately and should immediately change our walls to be what we're actually looking for. We would actually want 6-inch walls, and I will update the project to reflect that. So I'm going to pick generic 6-inch walls. We'll learn about how to modify the actual structure of the wall later, but I'm going to pick that. And I also want to change a couple other settings before I start placing this wall. Don't just go start putting stuff down. Our height, we will leave as height. We do want this to connect to level 2, and that can be explained later, but we'll switch that on to connected for now. And that we'll see if that causes problems later, but I don't think it will. We want to change the location line to Finish Face Exterior, which means that the wall itself will be located, the position of it, by the line that defines the outside of the wall. So if you were drawing on the board with a T-square and a triangle, that would mean that you're dimensioning or you're measuring to the outside of that wall. So that's really important. Chain we can leave on. That means our walls will stay connected as we place them instead of creating a new one. We will not change the offset. We will not change the radius, and we will not change the join status. All of that will stay the same. This is our drawing area down here. What we can do to start a wall is click one time. You do not click and drag. You click one click. Okay, and you see I now have the end of the wall attached to me. Now here's where it gets important. That dotted line there is the location line. So that means the inside of my wall is going to be to the left of this wall as I'm drawing it right now. If I hit the space key on the keyboard, we see that it flips sides. So if I actually wanted to create my box in this direction following the motion of the mouse, I would want to make sure that the dotted line were on the outside of the house, given that that dotted line represents the exterior finish face of the wall. And this is where we're just going to want to create the shape. What we can do is we notice it snaps into a vertical position, a 45-degree position, a horizontal position. I'm going to get it so it snaps into that vertical position. I'm going to take my hand off the mouse carefully so it stays there, and I'm just going to type 40. So that's going to be 40 feet. You could do inches and other things here, but we're just going to type 40. It's in feet by default. And you notice it has now extended that line. We can change the length of that later, but it's better if you just do it right the first time. Going across here, I'm going to kind of repeat the process, but now I'm going to do my 20-foot section. So again, my dotted line is on the outside, so everything is going well. I could flip it with the space if it were wrong. I'm going to type 20, enter. Then we're going to, oh, what's going on here? There we go. We were stuck for a second. I'm going to extend this back out, and now I can see it's going to snap. We call it snapping when it kind of snaps into place. It's going to snap to that other distance there. So I'll click. I don't even have to type anything. I'll bring this back around, and I'll close off our chain there. And now we have created the exterior walls. They're 6-inch exterior walls of our house. And this is kind of the foundation here for drawing things up. If you notice that it says 39 feet dash 6 inches, don't fret over that. That's actually measuring, if we notice, the measure mark here is from the center of the wall to the outside. That's why we don't do center to center. We do the finish face exterior because it gets confusing. And you'd rather just work from the finish outside part to the finish outside part. So that gives us our exterior size of the house, and we can now move on to actually placing some stuff inside this. To leave the wall placement mode, we can just click the modify button, and that'll switch us back out of it. Alternatively, I could have hit escape on the keyboard, and sometimes you have to hit it a couple times, so you can get in the habit of just having your finger on the escape key so you can mash it if you need to. But with this exterior part of the house, let's take a look at some doors. So I'm going to click in the architecture tab in the build panel on the door button. And this is going to open up our door modify tab here. You see it's green, and we see we have some completely different options now. For placing doors, we don't have to really worry about many of these options. Unlike the walls, what we do want to do is we want to make sure we've chosen a good door here. And this door, there are actually a lot of doors you can pick from, but for now, we'll just stick with a basic kind of door here. I'll show other types later on. And 36 inches, if we remember, is 3 feet. So that's going to give us a good width of that door. 84 inches is a good height. That's pretty much the tallest door you could have. I believe, what is that? That is... I can't remember the actual height of that off the top of my head in feet, but that is definitely the correct number of feet. So we can see now Revit's only going to let us snap this door onto a wall, which makes sense. You're not going to have a door in the middle of the room, so it rejects that. And you can see we can slide this around. We can flip the direction of it by moving it to different sides of the wall. So you can choose which way you want it to go, and you can also look at those dimensions it's giving you. And look at that. If we move it here, we see that that's unequal. We see the distance from the center of the outside wall and the distance from the center of the other outside wall. I'm going to slide this so that it's right in the middle. And I think I want this door, let's have it open in. If it's going the wrong way, just like flipping that line on the wall, you can hit the space bar. That's what I'm doing, and it's flipping the direction of this door. So I would like it to go that way. I'm going to just hit space and wiggle the mouse around until it looks like I want it to. You can adjust it after the fact too by clicking on these buttons here. They will flip it left and right or forward and backward. So those are other options you have. We see those dimensions are holding up. And let's stick another door back here. Maybe this one's going to go off to the side. And you can do this however you want. It does not have to be like me, but maybe this is coming out of the kitchen or something like that. Let's see, 13 and 6 foot 6 inches. That seems about right. We'll have it facing that way. So I'll click, places it. Now we have 2 doors right there in there. And you can go back and edit these later, but you don't have to. But if you want to change things, you can always edit later. I just hit escape a couple times. Like I said, mash escape to get out of that. Or you could have clicked the modify button. And last, we're going to place some windows. So let's pick window. And we notice immediately here that this says fixed. We do not want fixed windows. You can't open a fixed window. But we have some other options here. There are some double hung windows. So let's do these 30 by 46. So they're 30 inches wide and 46 inches tall. So that is just under 4 feet tall. So there's some nice tall windows. And like I said, you want to put 4. You can put more if you want. And what we could do here is we can sort of visually center these. Later on, I'll talk about how to precisely place objects. But you notice it's dimensioning to the center of that door. So that is kind of a good reference point, and Revit detects that and uses that automatically. So let's place a window there. That seems good. Let's place, a window back here. I said at least 4 windows, but you can place as many as you want. And now, so far, I've been kind of placing these willy-nilly. The way you actually want this to go, if you think about this, the way I'm flipping this, and I think I might have screwed up. Oh, you know what? I did that one right. Oh, this one's going the wrong way. If you look closely at this, if you think about it, a window in your house, the darker part of this window represents the pane of the window, or the 2 lines that are the actual glass. And in your house, you have usually a window sill on the inside of the structure. So, if we were to see this close here, so we know that the left here is the inside, you would want there to be more kind of flat space, and you would want the pane of glass to be closer to the outside of the house. So this is important for making sure your windows are facing the right way. This window would be actually kind of with the actual window part facing outward. This would be backwards. This would be with like the part that should be facing outside is actually facing inward. So you want it to be flipped this way so that the panes are closer to the outside of the building when you place this. So let's place it right there. And since I screwed this one up, let's place one more window. Yeah, we'll do it about here. That seems right. You can also look, the dimensions will be on the inside of the house, which is what you'd want. So I'm going to hit escape a couple times. Let's flip this window. If I click the window, I could click this button, but I can also hit the space bar on the keyboard, and that's going to have the same flipping effect. So space bar in Revit pretty much always flips something. And now that window is facing the correct direction. So is this one. So is this one. All these have the panes of glass on the outside, towards the outside of the building, and have a windowsill on the inside of the building where you might set something or whatever. So this more or less completes our floor plan of our house. And so the last step here is to place this into a sheet so that we can actually print it out. Before we create a sheet, we're going to do a couple things here to our floor plan view to make it a little better. I'm going to make sure nothing is selected. So I'm clicking off in some empty space here. And so now our floor plan is really what's selected here over in the properties browser here. So I'm going to scroll down a bit, and I'm going to look for the section here that says extents. This is the viewing extents. And we're going to do something. We're going to say we want to crop the view, and we want to show a crop region. It chops this off here, but if I make this wider, you'll see that says crop region visible. Those are the tick boxes we're checking. You can click the apply button, but if you noticed when I move my mouse out of there, it automatically applies it. And what this does is, it was hard to see, so let me turn that off. I'll make the crop region invisible. When I move my mouse out, that box disappears. What this is going to let us do, so I turned it back on, is we can click the crop region once, and we're going to crop this down so we don't have all that extra junk on the outside of it. And we're just going to leave a little bit of space around it. And we'll go like that, something like that, make that a little closer, zoom in. This whole time I've been moving my mouse around. You can zoom with the scroll wheel, and if you click the middle mouse button, it's going to drag or I believe if you hold both the left and the right keys on your trackpad on your computer, it'll work too. Just as an aside there for a second. So I've cropped this down, and I am going to now, I'm going to turn off crop region visible, but I'm going to leave crop view checked. And what you're going to see is that's going to make that box go away when I move my mouse out, but it's still cropping that. The important reason we did that is that when we bring this into our sheet down here, it's going to make sure that those little dots around it are not visible anymore. And that's what we want for now. For something simple like this, we want this cropped way down. Now that we've cropped our view, what we're going to do is we're going to right click on sheets. So now we're going to create that final sheet to generate the PDF. We're going to say new sheet. And we have one title block here, but these aren't the ones that we want. We want an A title block, and this is an E. This is a giant 30-inch by 42-inch sheet of paper. We want like 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to click load, and we're going to look for the folder here in this folder that we pop into called title blocks. So I'm going to double click that to open it. And now look at right there, we have our A sheet. So this was that giant sheet that we didn't want. We're going to use this A title block. And we're going to go like this, and we are going to open this title block. Later on, we'll learn about these other title blocks, but we're just going to open the A vertical oriented one. It is selected here. You know, we don't want this one selected. We want this one selected. We're going to click OK. And that's going to bring us a nice sheet of paper. This is 8.5 by 11. It already has a title block. I'll show you how to fill that out in a second. But we want to place this view in here. And this is super easy. All you do is drag and drop. It's going to stay stuck to your mouse until you click. I'm not dragging anything. I dragged and let go. It stays stuck. Then I'm going to click, and it's going to sort of stamp it down. And this is where we want to think about our scaling. While that's selected here, what we can do is we can go over to our scale, and we can say, well, what if we made it a little bigger? 3/16 of an inch equals a foot. Okay, and I move my mouse off to apply it. If I drag this around now, we're going to see, well, it's kind of bumping into stuff. I can nudge this with the keys on my keyboard, and actually, that looks pretty good. It looks like the inside part is not running into my border at all. So I click off of that, and the crop region, that's the crop region, is going to disappear. But if I notice, I've got a label down here. So I'm going to click off that so nothing's selected. And if I hover over the label and I click and drag this, it lets me move that label around, and I can make that label so it is a little closer to that. And then I'm going to click this one more time, and I'm just going to nudge it. So you can adjust this however you see fit, but I use the arrow keys to nudge it around. I don't like that. It's still too high, so I'll nudge it down a little more. That looks pretty visually centered on my page, looking pretty good. Now the last step here is to fill out some of these parts. So the project name for this one, we could call this Revit Exercise 1, Revit Exercise 1. And if it doesn't fit, put it on a new line. You could abbreviate this, maybe chop out the vowels. Exercise 1. There we go. I'll know what you mean. You are the author. My name is Doug Osgood. You type your name in there. You can also be the owner, but this might be, maybe you'd put my name in there because I'm the class person, but this might be whoever you're designing it for. You can put whatever you want. You can leave that blank. Actually, you don't want to leave it blank. It's going to put a question mark. So you can you fill this out however you need here. Unnamed. This would be the name of the actual drawing. So this would be plan drawing. And now we have everything here that we would need. Oh, the issue date. Let's put today's date. Today is, look at it. It's down in the corner, 11/24/2020. And that kind of brings you to the conclusion of creating this whole drawing here. When you are going to print this, you're going to go up to File, Print. In this this layout here, I already did this once, so that's why everything is on the right settings. You're going to want to make sure you go to the name of the printer and pick Microsoft Print to PDF. you want to leave this stuff as it is. This has to do with where you're going to save the file, but it'll ask you before you save it. You want to make sure you change this. It'll probably be on current window to selected views / sheets. Hit select. And you want to make sure sheet, this sheet is selected, the one that you want. You want to make sure that tick box is on there. So we'll say OK. And you also want to go to settings down here. And you're going to want to make sure the size of the paper is letter. That's okay. You're going to want to make sure this says center, not offset from corner. And you're really going to want to make sure that the zoom is set to 100%. You do not want to fit to page, or it's going to change the size of everything. Everything else here for now can stay exactly as it is. We don't have to do anything else. We're going to say OK. It may ask you if you want to save those settings. You can say yes or no. It may also ask you that here. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to say OK. Yes. And it's going to ask us where we want to save it. I'm going to save right over this document I have here, but you could type a name in there. Hit save. Yeah, OK, we can replace it. And then you'll be able to open that up there. Whoops. We're going to go to computer. Let's find my H drive. Bada bing, bada boom. And we're going to open this folder, and we'll see there is our drawing. And the difference is if we had hit to fit to page, it would have left a larger margin around this, and we do not want that. So this is going to generate that file that you're going to submit. You're going to want to submit, I think, these two files here. Yes, these two files here are what you're going to submit to the assignment. So that there concludes how you would create all the parts of this file, all the parts of this assignment. So we ended up with a 20 by 40 wall layout. We ended up with 2 doors, 4 double hung windows. We got it onto Arc A paper, portrait orientation. I guess I should call this vertical orientation. I'll update that. We got the appropriate scale. It fills the page nicely. Appropriate label for the view. We completed the title block with all the information, and we have prepared the PDF printout file and the Revit file, both which can show us what we need to do. Both of which can be submitted for this assignment. Sorry, at the end of a 27-minute video, I start to lose my mind a little bit. So this video will be attached to this assignment when it is posted, and you will be able to look at it at your leisure. I will try to label the different parts of it so you can go back and skip around to see the key parts. If you only need to look at how to do windows, you can jump to that part so that you don't have to watch the whole thing cover to cover, if you will, beginning to end. So that is all. I hope this helps, and keep drawing.